Okay, looks like we're finally getting connected up here, so it's 4:04. I'll call to order this September meeting of the Bloomington Board of Park Commissioners. And Kim, could you start us with the roll call, please?
Kathleen Mills.
Here.
Ellen Rodkey.
Here.
Israel Herrera.
Here.
Okay, and we don't have Jim Whitlatch today, but we do have a quorum, so we can go ahead and meet. And first off, we always have our consent calendar. So our claims submitted, minutes from the last meeting, business reports, surplus refunds, and then just a few smaller agreements or partnerships that have been recurring for some time. So we're pretty used to those. So do we have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Move to approve the consent calendar.
Okay, and a roll call vote of all those in favor?
Kathleen Mills.
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey.
Aye.
Israel Herrera.
Okay, motion carried. And then in section B, it's always nice when we can give an award. So we have Julie Ramey here to present our Bravo Award for this month.
Good afternoon. I'm Julie Ramey. I'm the Community Relations Manager for the Parks and Recreation Department, and it is my pleasure today to be here to present our monthly Bravo Award for Outstanding Volunteerism to Sharon Roulette. Sharon is the Adopt a Green Space leader for Crestmont Park, and she has consistently and enthusiastically volunteered in a leadership role since April 2022. Her vision of caring for her space has created a ripple effect and has touched IU service learners, the Crestmont Boys and Girls Club, Boy Scout Troop 100, and many other community volunteers. She has been a cheerleader for removing invasive vines from mature native trees and for growing new oak seedlings and other native seedlings. We are so excited that Crestmont Park is part of the Winslow-Crestmont Wildlife Corridor project, and we welcome everyone there to view the changes taking place. And we are thrilled and delighted and happy to have Sharon as a part of our team. And if Sharon will come up, I have a certificate and our Bravo umbrella. If you would like to say a few words?
Thank you for this nice umbrella. I'd like to let you know that I really appreciate that the Parks and Rec Department recognizes volunteer work as a viable form of recreation. It's a team that you can belong to, and you don't have to go fight win. And it's really improved our neighborhood. Crestmont Park was a kind of a problem park, and it has just changed amazingly because of the work we've done, but also because of all the volunteers from all over town who've never been to Crestmont Park that are coming over there and kind of creating a new atmosphere. I'd like to really thank Jillian Field and make you know what a gem you've got here. She's not just a weed wrangler, she's a people wrangler, because she's got people out at all hours of the day, doing group work and getting a lot done. So I also would like to thank Ray Major, and that's another little gem that you have here. He's really the Trees from Seed program, and he's really an excellent teacher, and he's really doing a good job up at Crestmont, making forest where forest there was no forest. And also Joanna, they're both really good educators. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Sharon. I especially appreciate what you said about bringing in people from other communities and getting them to see, yeah, that's as important as getting rid of the weeds. Yes. All right, thank you. Bye. And then in section C, first up C1, Tim Street will tell us about the 2025 general fund budget.
All right, good afternoon, Park Commissioners. Thank you for being with us. I appreciate the time you give to us, and I'm going to start off tonight on a busier than usual agenda for 2 months of items here by talking to you and basically going over the presentation that was given to the Common Council a couple weeks ago regarding our 2025 general fund budget priorities. This is a budget that really involves input from all levels of staff, starting with advisory team and then on down to everybody who's managing different programs, different areas, and different aspects of our budget to create the sum total of what we do. So just as a reminder, we do have 2 budgets. We have our general fund budget, which ultimately is approved financially by the controller and then by the city council. And then we have our non-reverting budget. This year, we aren't presenting the non-reverting budget tonight, the same night. We intend to bring that to the park board one of the next 2 months for approval. The non-reverting budget is at the board's sole discretion approval. That one does not go to the city council. So while city council does have final approval of this budget, we feel it's important to also bring it to the Board of Park Commissioners for approval as well. So there's some things I won't have to go over with you as much as I do with the Common Council, like what we do. But this was the intro slide, talks a little bit about what we do. I do want to point out our great tagline that we started with this year, Explore, Play, Connect, as just a tagline to talk about all the different things that we do and offer for the community. In the salary ordinance, it does contain up to 65 full-time staff and around 62 temporary staff as full-time equivalent. That's 25 union staff and 40 non-union staff. And just for perspective on what that temporary staff adds up to, in our most recent complete year, 2023, that was 382 different staff members. A huge, huge number of lifeguards, coaches, laborers, landscapers, you name it. We've probably got a position for you. You are familiar with our key programs: operations, recreation, sports, and admin community relations, and the things that they support. Briefly, just share some successes. These were things that we were able to share with the Common Council as well. Of course, the Eclipse was a great success. The wonderful concert, the wonderful amount of out-of-state people we had in Switchyard Park and at Griffey, and then, of course, all of the community parties we had in many of our other parks. We finished the new 5 to 12 Bryan Park Playground, 2 new solar installations. We're closing in on the new shelter at RCA Park. We've had a lot of really great success with grants this year, thanks to the city's grant coordinator and the controller's office. TLRC installed new soccer turf. Of course, as always, many, many wonderful concerts, events, and the farmers market's been going strong. We are in the process of getting some results of our 50th anniversary master plan study now from our consultants, and look forward to sharing those in the near future. We've had great success opening the Griffey South Shore Trail. I hope we can do more things like that in the future. We've had a number of projects funded through ARPA funds. This is the last year for American Rescue Plan funds to be used, and so we are obligating those funds. We're in the process of purchasing an all-terrain wheelchair for Griffey to help support our Nature Days programming out there. Purchased a minibus to help with some of our programming, particularly summer camp and Banneker. We are getting a tactile map at Switchyard Park. We'll actually be bringing that to the board soon, and I'm really looking forward to getting that. That's a map that is for people of all abilities who might have visual impairments. You can feel the map just as much as you can see it. So doing some really cool things to make our parks inclusive. The ESD department helped us with Stay Cool Pool Days. You're going to hear more about that tonight, actually. We have built all of our city assets, for the most part, into GIS and started on CityWorks, our asset management software. Amy Lionbeck is doing a lot with that for us, and we look forward to continuing to grow that. Storm response has been ongoing to this day, particularly in the urban forestry department. There's still some items they're chasing from that June storm, created a lot of damage. We have challenges too. Climate change impacts. Summer storms seem to be, we have one really good destructive one about every year right now, and it takes us away from a lot of other things we maybe could and should be doing. Growth, we have some crazy growth and drought seasons that make it hard to maintain vegetation. We've got a lot of aging facilities, as well as system growth. We've added a lot these last few years. We've added Switchyard. We're bringing Hopewell Commons online. We've had a number of bicentennial projects, so a lot of needs. And of course, there's competing priorities. I know the board hears these competing priorities in public comment sometime, people who want different things added to parks in different places and trying to identify how we can navigate that. Of course, behavior impacts in parks affects us. Our staff, I can't say enough about our frontline staff who quite literally deal with this on an everyday basis and ensure that our parks are clean and accessible for everybody. It would be easy to conflate all of this with homelessness. That is not necessarily the case. There's a lot of bad behavior that is not necessarily homelessness related to. But graffiti, vandalism, encampments, messes, needles, and just bad behavior in general are things we are certainly dealing with. They take a lot of our time, a lot of our resources away from, again, other things we could be doing. Just share a little bit about our security spending. It is significant. And this is something we are sharing with City Council that is a challenge to parks right now, in large part because maybe there's some deficits in other areas of public safety, number of officers, things like that, that park security has been necessitated. And certainly they have had a positive impact for us. But again, this is money we wish we didn't have to obligate here because speaking of competing priorities, there's a lot we could do with this. And so we're making sure council's aware of that as well. Keep on rolling here. I think my thing went to sleep. Kim, it stopped going on me for some reason. Did it get clicked out of maybe? Can you click back in it? I think maybe it got, there we go. We've got a lot of opportunities. I'll touch on these more in a minute, so I'm going to skip over that one. It stopped working. Is it the front window? All right, next slide. We'll do this old school. Okay, so that said, the way we prepared our budget memo and were asked to prepare our budget memo for council was a little bit different this year. New administration, new city council. In the past, historically, a lot of what we've done is taken each of our individual park areas within each of the divisions and share a few of our key strategic goals. This year, and working towards a more outcome-based budget, we were asked to prepare more overarching goals that might contain goals across departments. And so these are the 5 goals that we shared with council, and I'm going to talk through them. Next slide, Kim. And ultimately, this is the budget that has been prepared and submitted. In 100, which is our personnel services, you can see our overall budget is up about 3%. That is in line with the cost of living adjustment that we know every position is getting. In addition to that, but not in the parks budget yet, the city has been completing a compensation study for some time, and the HR department has, I want to say it's around $6 million budgeted in the HR budget right now that will then be distributed to departments to enact the findings from that compensation study report. And we anticipate knowing more about that before the end of the year. Our supplies budget is pretty stable. Our other services budget is also pretty stable. Some increases contracted security. The rate's gone up a little bit. We've got a bigger project in there to repair some security cameras, but overall a pretty stable amount. And then in capital outlays, you can see that has gone down. Part of that is that we had $600,000 in ARPA funds in 2024 that we are still spending, but will not appear again in the 2025 budget. And actually, what the administration and the council has been working on is even moving these 400 level items out of the parks general fund budget and into a separate bond that will be part of city capital projects. So those we anticipate being removed from our budget impact. But overall, because of the loss of ARPA funds, you can see our budget is actually down a little bit from the previous year's request. All right, next slide, Kim. And next slide. We can keep going. Next slide. Okay, I'm just going to talk a little bit about our goals. The first goal is to complete the master plan. The board knows and approves that we operate off of 5-year master plans. It's critical that the board does approve that to make us eligible for certain state and federal grants. As a parks agency, we need to have a master plan. Key to gathering community feedback to drive our priorities and investment. Next slide, Kim. The impact of this is about $127,000 in the general fund to hire a consultant, most importantly, that consultant to help us with statistically valid representative surveying of the community. And, you know, we can build in certain questions we're after, things we're trying to answer, to make sure we get that representative feedback, and then also doing some focus groups and feedback groups separately. Next slide. Timeline, we anticipate issuing an RFP yet this year, and working on this through the first half of 2025, so we can hopefully get results by Q3, and then that plan will be for 2026 to 2030. So this is a really, really key document for us, and I really look forward to being able to go through this experience, actually for my first time with the department, but and also my first time as the director. Next slide. The next goal is actually related to activating Hopewell Commons and the Beeline. So Hopewell Commons is nearing completion. We are working on some plans and some dates now to determine the exact means and methods for how we will open that to the public. We anticipate completion in late 2024. That's going into winter, so some things may wait until spring for full activation. Activation and positive use is key for any new park, but especially here, because we are opening a park here that is really intended to be a park that is the anchor of new development, but that new development is going to take some time to come. So right now we have a park with some fields around it. And next slide, Kim. I want to mention to the board to expect that when you see the non-reverting budget for this first year, we don't anticipate the full annual impact of maybe 100 to 120K in expenses for Hopewell Commons for several years. One, because we have construction warranties. Two, because it'll take us some time to fully activate it. Three, because we have contracted landscaping already included for 2 years as part of construction. So we don't anticipate realizing all of these costs at once, but we are going to start by putting these into our non-reverting fund. So when you see non-reverting, you will see a request for Hopewell Commons in there. The reason being is that we are planning to and exploring ways with the controller and other city departments to recoup some cost from developments that come in here that are able to take advantage of this green space, so that developers may pay, for example, a park impact fee that would help fund the maintenance of this park for at least 3 or 4 years is the goal, after which it would need to become just another general fund supported park. Next slide, Kim. We'll be activating with several main events. This is going to be happening in 25 and beyond. And I'll also mention the Beeline as part of this goal. General fund budget impacts are unknown on that one as of yet, but part of the new administration, the mayor has attended Urban Design Institute through New York University for new mayors. And we are really looking at ways to continue to activate the Beeline, especially since it's such a critical connection between virtually all of our major city projects, past and present, Switchyard, Hopewell, Trades District, and the Convention Center. And in particular, talking with the Convention Center board about how we can continue to activate and connect the Beeline through that Convention Center upgrade. Next slide. Goal number 3, this is going to relate a lot to goal number 1. We're going to use goal number 1 to power a lot of this in that master plan process, but these are the years that these facilities were built. Bryan Park, 1959, Mills Pool, 1967, Frank Southern, 1967, and Winslow Sport Park, 1979. They all have a lot of challenges and inefficiencies due to their age. Go to the next slide, Kim. Right now in our general fund, there's probably about $100,000 budgeted. Not probably, there is $100,000 budgeted to take care of immediate needs for these aging facilities. As I mentioned, some of that may be coming out to a capital bond, but that amount is still there. Next slide, Kim. There, as I mentioned, are a lot of inefficiencies. Accessibility is poor. Inclusion is poor in terms of restrooms, family restrooms, non-binary restrooms. Safety is diminished. You know, for example, one of the main items for next year that we anticipate doing is a Bryan Park pool liner. We had people cut their foot on the pool liner at Bryan Park this year and had to try to mitigate that mid-season. So all of these things, including energy efficiency and sustainability, can be enhanced through making a plan to enact some critical upgrades to these facilities. You know, there may be hard decisions along the way about how we prioritize and manage these facilities, and that's why we're going to roll this in with our master plan and use community input statistically representative community input to help us drive these decisions, and certainly the input of the board as well. Our fourth goal relates to continuing to work on our green space standards and climate resiliency. There's a lot of challenges, difficulty hiring, especially since COVID, excessive growth and drought, damaging summer storms, pulling us away from our duties. It's made caring for our urban green space and forest difficult. We've had a lot of great investment, but it's still a challenge. Next slide. These are just actually the entire budgets for these areas, because I know council wanted to see, what is it that we spend on these initiatives. So the entire budget, natural resources and urban forestry are both around $500,000, and urban green space is just a little bit more than $1.1 billion. So collectively, these areas are caring for our natural spaces, our nature preserves, our trees, coordinating what we just heard about, our volunteer efforts to take care of invasive species, our staff efforts to take care of invasive species, as well as taking care of a whole heck of a lot of both park landscaping and random landscaping you might see around town, like medians on College Mall or medians on 3rd Street that are very difficult to keep up with, roundabouts, planters downtown, things like that. Next slide. So some of the outputs and outcomes we expect on this, we are actually happy to know that we've found some funds outside of the Parks Fund through parking meter funds to help us contract care of downtown and potentially Kirkwood planters. That is a plan we're working on right now that will help us enhance those planters while maintaining them in a native forward way, while reducing the burden on our staff and letting them take care of some other critical needs. One of our goals is having a 10-year urban forestry pruning cycle, which would mean we're pruning about 1,800 trees a year. There are some budget enhancements in the urban forestry budget to allow us to do that. We are year 3 of 15 on calorie pair replacement. That's about 70 trees a year. That's ongoing. Haskell has been working on bicentennial tree planting, round 3, about another 380 trees to go in around. And another thing we're looking at is achieving Bee City USA. So we're a Tree City USA and the oldest Tree City USA, but we're looking at this Bee City USA. So these will be going on throughout 2025. Next slide. We're stuck again. All right. Goal 5 is connectivity and accessibility, continuing to complete our capital projects related to these. I mentioned a lot of the ARPA projects that we had in '24, completing those. Residents frequently ask us when we do community surveys, some of the top things we hear is, hey, we want more connectivity with trails and we want more accessibility to trails, parks, facilities, programs, you name it. Next slide, Kim. No direct general fund impact at this time. Next slide, Kim. Outcomes, some of these are based on finding grant funding, and of course, there is staff time involved in running all of these, and that is part of the general fund, but designing and finding a grant for the Beeline South, we're really interested in connecting a paved connection between the Limestone Greenway and Clear Creek Trail and the Beeline Trail for those missing 2 miles. The Epley Institute has approached us about conducting a essential experience accessibility survey of some of our parks and programs. We're working to build the Powerline Trail project next year. That'll be a huge connector from Switchyard to the Habitat neighborhood and beyond to Summit District as that develops. Completing our 24 ARPA projects, that will include the building trades accessibility improvements that the board has seen some of. And then we are hoping to continue to find funding to extend our efforts at Griffey to work on the North Shore Trail and actually creating a fully accessible trail at Griffey Lake. So these may not be things that happen in '25, but they're things we're looking for. Ultimately, as mentioned, our final budget request in general fund for 2025 is $12.2 million. Broken down into these categories, I do anticipate some or all of that category 4 moving out of our general fund budget and into a bond that the city is working on issuing. We can go to our last slide just because I like the photos. One more. It's fun to showcase photos. We always have the best photos when we present to City Council, so it's great to showcase what we get to do, the tremendous work that our staff all put in all of our divisions and in so many different ways to help the community explore, play, connect, and just be a better place to live. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but that is the end of my presentation. And I know in the board packet, I believe you also had a breakdown of some of the budget areas.
Any questions for Tim about budget goals?
Ellen, you have a question?
Yeah.
So, yeah, thank you, team, for bringing this, and thank you for all the advances and projects. So I have two questions. One is regarding the Bryant Park pool, because one of the concerns or needs is about aging. I see it was built in 1959. It's been a while. So, and there are different conversations that we are being, discussing in this meeting and in our internal one regarding repairing, regarding, like the taking care of many mechanical and also the facility care. But I wonder if there is any planning of expansion, any planning of maybe creating a more modern swimming pool for the community, because since 1959 up until now, the population has increased, and sometimes we see the pools crowded, many families, people there. That's great that they are taking advantage of our pools, but the thing is that maybe there should be some kind of study related to maybe make it a bigger pool for the community. We know that we have, and that's just like a suggestion now. We have the park next to the pool, Bryant Park next to the pool. There might be some possibilities to explore the expansion and creating maybe more space for more families. More people are coming to Bloomington, and we have the same pool as far as I know, and as far as I have lived in Bloomington since 1959, the same pool, right? Maybe my colleagues or other people can say if the previous expansion has been made, but that's something that I would like to share with you and your department and the director. And the other thing is, and I believe we had this discussion, if we can, Kim, go back to the needles and the behavior in some of our parks, to that slide where we saw the graffiti and also some destruction, because I have a question regarding.
Kim, he's wondering if you can go back to the slide I had that had the security graph on it.
The behavior and
It's
some
before all the
numbers,
goals.
figures about the needles.
Here we go.
That one. So yeah, the following one. One quick question would be the picture in the middle. No, the other one. That one in the middle is. What is that place? Is that is in People's Park, right? No.
No, that particular picture was an encampment issue at Lower Cascades.
Oh, Lower Cascades. Okay. Uh-huh. And then the following one, Kim, if you can, is that the one with the number? Oh, yeah. So we can move the Zoom test.
The Zoom box
we
is
can
on
have
the
21,
needle count.
20.
The little Zoom box is on top of the needle count.
Just moving, dragging the, or anyway, okay, no, yeah, that's why I wanted, because we can see that for 2024,
We're probably on pace to have another year like 2021 is what we're looking
the
at.
21 was the pike.
Where I expect us, Amy's actually even updated me a little bit more since this was created, but yeah, I expect we'll have another year like 2021.
Okay, but it has in certain way decreased, right? Because we have
It's fluctuated a little bit, I'd say if we had to average that out, it's probably the high 3,000s, but we're going to be above average this year. Yeah, we've been finding a lot this summer in particular.
So I remember also in a meeting, you mentioned that there are more places where needles can be.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact count that we have. I want to say it's 8 sharps boxes that we have in various parks and facilities around town to drop them off in. And that count includes ones that are found in the drop boxes, and we could provide the data if you want. The majority, though, are not found from the needle boxes.
And that, like the part with the highest findings of needles, can I say if it's Switchard Park? Is that the place with maybe,
I'm not sure. What's the question? I'm sorry.
like needles? Which part is the one with the highest number of needles being found?
I'd have to look. Seminary, I would say, yeah.
And Switchard Park now has increased the number of boxes as well, right?
We still find some in Switchard Park, but there are drop boxes there as well. Sharps boxes.
No, I guess, even though we are, like we have 3 more months, but the number has decreased, so that's
Yeah,
a
I do
good.
anticipate it being higher than last year. And to your first question, yeah, I think those are the questions we absolutely are looking to ask. That's why we have this sports facilities plan goal. It's because we need to take a look at, okay, do we continue to put money into the same facility the same way, or at some point, obviously, it becomes more cost effective to consider, okay, maybe a renovation is actually more cost effective than just an ongoing repair. So in recent years, our staff have done a really great job. I want to say I think we're really lucky as a community to still have 2 community pools. There are a lot of similar sized communities that do not have that anymore, that have had to give that up due to a lack of lifeguards or aging facilities and things like that. So I think it's very special that we still have 2 community pools. But those are the exact questions we want to get at, not just for pools, but for the ice arena, which is very old and has a lot of mechanical issues, safety side things that we want to address there as well. So by leaning on the master plan process, making sure we are incorporating some specific questions into that process that will help us with the sports facilities capital plan, I think we can build a plan that is responsive to community desires, and really considering, what level of capital investment, working with the controller on things like that for what we might be able to do.
I apologize if you said this, but have we ever had a capital plan for sports facilities, or, is this gonna be a new process for us?
I don't think we've had one specifically for this, but I'm also just speaking to recent memory. So, there could have been something very similar. And certainly we've had capital plans in general. We maintain sort of on a live basis, a spreadsheet that is sort of our parks capital improvement plan of changing priorities and what are the top needs, and this came up. And so anything that ends up being a capital expense, we try to build into that and have provided that to the controller as well. Some of it is deferred maintenance. Every department has that. And some of it is sort of wish list items or things we want to upgrade or do better with. So I think the level of the issue for the sports facilities is ubiquitous enough across these different facilities. You saw the ages. They're all about the same age. And so they're facing very much the same problems of people ask us, do you have a family restroom or a non-gendered restroom? Well, no, because literally the facility just doesn't even have a room that can accommodate that at this point. It's built with one wing and one other wing. And we struggle with that at the pools and the ice arena. So, and we're hoping to leverage, energy efficiency grants, things like that, that we can get money for making these more efficient while we go to.
I just had a question while we're on the security slide, because I know obviously we have a new-ish mayor who wants to do some things differently. Have there been any conversations with the mayor's office about this increasing park security costs? Because it just keeps going up every year.
Yeah, we have, and that was a big part of budget preparation this year, was sharing the current cost of what we're doing. I think with new administration and goals getting enacted and working towards things, I know the police union contract was a big point of negotiation, which is up for budget approval in a couple weeks. That is anticipated to help a lot with officer numbers, and in my opinion, that's one of the number one things we can do to offset the need to have security is get our police force staffed to the level where it's full or close to full, because then we'll be able to have more police presence just in general. Maybe things like foot patrols and bike patrols and things like that can make a comeback, but that just haven't been as feasible while they've been understaffed. But yeah, definitely something I continue to raise, and the reason I wanted to make council aware of this too is it's, you know, when people ask us, why aren't we fixing fill in the blank? Well, maybe we would be able to if we weren't having to, because this absolutely has been an essential service for us and for our residents, and has also, I have no doubt, saved several lives at least by checking on people who would otherwise not be checked on. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions for Tim before we go to a motion? Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2025 general fund budget.
And a roll call vote of all those in favor?
Kathleen Mills.
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey.
Aye.
Israel Herrera.
Okay, motion carried. Thank you,
Thank you.
Tim. And then next up on C2 and C3, Haskell Smith will tell us about a couple of addendums with Bluestone Tree and Ellington Tree for some hazardous tree removal.
Good afternoon, all. Haskell Smith, Urban Forester. I'm here today to recommend the approval of two contract addendums, one with Bluestone Tree LLC and one with J.R. Ellington Tree Expert Co., to increase the amount of funding for our service agreements by $8,500 to come from our general fund. And this is directly related to the storm event on June 25th. I've burned pretty much all of my budget there. And there's still a few hazards out there I'd like to get down prior to the end of the year, and I think this is necessary.
Gosh, September, still cleaning up from.
Our heads are finally above water, and everything's gone well. I think all the planning and prep that we did and what we did during the event went very well. There was a lot of stuff down. And
Yeah.
It takes longer to clean up than it does to fall down,
Yes.
unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
A lot of things still out there.
Yeah.
Some of these trees that the crews are unlikely to be able to safely remove are because they are.
There's just some in areas that are very tricky for us that are still caught up along ones at Alcott Trail heading down to Jackson Creek. There's a large tree wedged in another one. I can't hardly get my equipment down there to do this safely. Both JR and Ellington have the equipment and could have it done in a safe manner in a short amount of time.
Can I ask? Yeah, thank you for the information. So this is just for the trees that fell down in like roads and the main streets or streets corresponding to the city, no internal trees that the citizens were asking to be removed.
This is strictly for public-owned trees, so anything that would fall within the right-of-way, and then some areas do end up being an unapproved alley behind somebody's house. I had one on 6th and Fairview that cost me $4,500 about just before the storm hit.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? No. Okay.
I'll move to approve the addendum with Bluestone Tree for hazardous tree removal.
Okay, and a roll call vote, please.
Kathleen Mills.
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey.
Aye.
Israel Herrera.
Okay, motion C2 is carried, and then we should vote on C3, yeah.
Make a motion to approve the addendum with J.R. Ellington for hazardous tree removal.
Okay, and a roll call vote?
Kathleen Mills.
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey.
Aye.
Israel Herrera.
Okay, motion's carried. Thank you, Haskell.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then in C4, Bill Ream will tell us about the addendum to the MOU with the Public Library for RCA and Butler Story Walk.
Bill Ream, Community Events Coordinator. I'm here to recommend the approval of an amendment to the memorandum of understanding with, between the Parks and Rec and Monroe County Public Library for the installation and maintenance of Storywalk panels in Butler Park and RCA Park. Kim's pulling up a slide. I'll get to that in a second. So the background is currently have an MOU in place with the library for the maintenance of Storywalk panels in Butler Park. This amendment to this original MOU is for the maintenance of these panels in Butler Park, as well as installation and maintenance of a new Storywalk with 16 panels in RCA Park. The library will maintain the storybook panels in both parks, and will change the storybook itself in them twice a year, while we will take care of all the maintenance of the grounds, vegetation, and other areas around those panels, which is what is happening now in Butler Park. And this MOU will remain in effect until one of the parties wishes to change or wishes to end the MOU. So this is you can't really see this is at RCA Park, the text box is blocking the playground, but in the bottom is the playground of RCA Park. And it goes between, there's the trail right next to the playground, a paved trail that goes to the north and follows around the woods. These Storywalk panels will be starting somewhere right around the playground once we get the line located done to make sure where it's safe to do that. And then it's to go up to where the denser vegetation starts and where the new pathway comes in from the new neighborhood. The installation itself will be done by a contractor that the library has in coordination with our operations staff, who will, if there's any issues, they will direct them what to go, and we will mark where they're supposed to go. And so this MOU amendment to the MOU is to bring this new Storywalk into the department. I'm happy to answer any questions you guys may have.
All right. Thank you. Any questions for Bill?
No, I think it's a great project. I think the ones at Butler Park are really popular, so it's really cool to see they're expanding it to RCA.
Yeah. It's nice to keep doing it. So, all right.
Kudos to the library. I'll make a motion to approve the addendum to the MOU with Monroe County Public Library for RCA and Butler.
Okay, and a roll call vote, please.
Kathleen Mills,
Aye.
Ellen Rockie,
Aye.
Israel Herrera.
Okay, and that motion is carried. Thank you, Bill. And next up in C5, Shelby Drake will tell us about an MOU with city departments for the Heroes 5K.
Yes, Shelby Drake, Health and Wellness Coordinator. Not so healthy today, but we are here to present the partnership agreement or the service agreement with Bloomington Fire Departments and Police Departments. So this year, we are hosting our 6th inclusive 5K 1-mile walk event. Previous years have focused on veteran mental health. This year, we are partnering with the police and fire to focus on our first responders' mental health. 25% of the proceeds after we pay direct expenses are going to go back into the police and fire departments towards their staff mental health initiatives.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting as a new initiative. To
Yeah.
turn that back into for them.
Yes,
Yeah.
both of those departments have really newer initiatives that are focused on staff morale, making sure that both our police and fire departments have access to mental health care, that they're getting all of their needs met when they are dealing with a lot of really difficult things. So the money here will kind of go towards that and supporting those initiatives.
All right, great. Any questions for Shelby? Okay.
Move to approve the MOU with the city departments for the Heroes 5K 2024.
Okay, and a roll call vote?
Kathleen Mills,
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey,
Aye.
Israel Herrera.
All right, motion carried. Thank you, Shelby. And then next in C6, Crystal will tell us about the partnership with Cicada Cinema for outdoor films.
Yes, good afternoon. Crystal Ritter, Community Events Coordinator. I am here today to recommend the approval of a cooperative partnership agreement with Cicada Cinema for the 2024 Movies in the Park series. The Bloomington Parks and Recreation Department would like to acquire sponsorship funds to pay for the movie licenses, and Cicada Cinema will acquire the movie licenses for our Movies in the Park series. And we will also provide payment to them for advertisements to advertise the city through their website and various publications that they put out. The movie licenses, movie rental, and purchasing of the movies, and the advertisement fees will go to Cicada Cinema and will be paid out of account number 20118. Well, you can read it there, and it's not to exceed the amount of $2,200. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, any questions for Crystal?
Please just remind me how many films?
So this year, we will be doing 5 films with Cicada Cinema. It was an interesting year. We've actually already shown 5 films this year. We showed 2 with the Writer magazine and film series earlier in the year, and then we're showing 5 additional films with Cicada this year. So that would be 7 films total for the year.
So Cicada Cinema will pay the licenses, but the department will find or look for the grants for the funding.
Yeah, so us as the Parks Department we've reached out to local businesses to get sponsorship money that we will then pay to Cicada Cinema that will cover the cost of the movie licenses.
Okay, I think we're ready for a motion.
Yeah, I'll move to approve the partnership with Cicada Cinema for outdoor films.
Second.
Okay, and a roll call vote, please.
Kathleen Mills.
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey.
Aye.
Israel Herrera.
Aye.
Okay, motion
Thank you so
carried.
much.
Thank you, Crystal. I meant to tell you, by the way, Crystal, I thought the showing the John McEnroe movie at the tennis courts was very inspired, but I don't know if it happened or if there was bad weather or.
Well, the weather made me panic. It didn't happen.
Okay.
But it came, I almost had to call it because there was a storm that moved in north of town and I was worried about, but we didn't have it and it was great.
Oh, good. Yeah, I thought that was very clever to have it that location.
We actually held it on the day of the US Open.
Oh,
So
perfect.
People realize that, but
All right, thank you. All right, and then in C7, Steve Cotter will tell us about appointments to ERAC, the Environmental Resource Advisory Council.
Yes, Steve is out ill and Rebecca is out of the office, so I am going to jump in for this one for them. Staff recommends approval of Environmental Resource Advisory Council appointees Ann Crecelius and Adam Fudikar. There were 2 vacancies, and for the ERAC, which oversees matters pertaining to operations of city natural areas and facilities. There are 9 members and 1 ex officio member, so these 2 appointments would fill the 2 vacancies, and both of these folks were selected based on their relevant experience in resource management and are recommended by staff for approval.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
Some PhDs in
I
biology.
know.
And masters in environmental studies.
No lack of talented people in Bloomington.
They are qualified, yeah. I'll move to approve the appointments of Adam and Ann, did I get that right? To the EROC.
Okay, and a roll call vote?
Kathleen Mills.
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey.
Aye.
Israel Herrera.
All right, motion carried. Thank you for that, Tim. And then Joanna Sparks will tell us in C8 about the agreement with Ecologic for the Miller Showers dredging restoration work.
Good afternoon. Joanna Sparks, Urban Green Space Manager, here today to recommend approval of a contract with Ecologic for vegetation restoration work at Miller Showers Park and in relation to the dredging project that CBU implemented in July. And the funding source for this remediation is CBU. We are just supervising the project. It's the amount of it is $7,487-ish. And basically, the dredging machines parked on about 3,200 square feet of the prairie in 2 separate spots totaling that. And damage the prairie. So we're going to hire Ecologic to come in and fix that. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Any questions for Joanna?
All right, I'll move to approve the contract with Ecologic for vegetation restoration at Miller Showers.
Okay, and a roll call vote?
Kathleen Mills.
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey.
Aye.
Israel Herrera.
Okay, motion carried. Thank you, Joanna. And then in C9, Mark Sterner will tell us about the agreement with Bloomington Soccer.
Good afternoon, Mark Sterner, General Manager of the Twin Lakes Recreation Center. Bloomington Soccer has operated a successful and well-respected youth and adult soccer program at the Twin Lakes Recreation Center since the facility opened in 1999. Ownership of the soccer switched from Chris Doran to David Prawl at the beginning of 2018. These programs have included developmental programs for youth, as well as recreation and competitive soccer leagues for youth and adults as well. The role of this partnership is to assist David Prawl in continuing to offer these programs to the Bloomington community. This provides quality soccer programming for members of the community, as well as significant field rental revenue for the Twin Lakes Recreation Center. This is the 16th year of this partnership, which is hard to believe. We have no changes to the agreement this year, and before I recommend approval, I just kind of denote from a question last year, what are the benefits to Bloomington Soccer? What do they get from this partnership agreement? The primary things that are associated with this agreement are a reduced cost in the hours based upon volume. In addition to that, first priority in terms of availability, so we get their scheduling requests before we start to enter any other scheduling for the public. Storage of program supplies, and lastly, marketing in our program guide, website, and closed circuit TV. And staff recommends approval.
Okay, 16th year of the partnership, so that has worked well. Any questions for Mark?
So the agreement is every year, right? It's not like 2 years, 3 years. It's every year you review.
We do this every year, yes.
year.
Yes.
Move to approve the agreement with Bloomington Soccer.
Okay, and a roll call vote?
Kathleen Mills.
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey.
Aye.
Israel Herrera.
Okay, motion carried. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
And then we have a couple items from Chris Hamrick. First is C10, the agreement with Bloomington Blades for youth hockey.
Hello, Chris Hamrick. I'm the sports facility manager. This is my first time, other than my introduction when I first started with the city, so excited to be up here. We have a couple agreements here that we want to try to recommend approval for. The first is for the Bloomington Blades youth hockey program. It's a program that we've had an agreement with them for as long as I can remember. It's a youth hockey association. It's a travel program for kids from the age of 7 to 12. They schedule 80 hours of practice time at the arena. Season, they have a minimum of 29 home games, and it's open to all people all youth in the area that are interested in playing hockey. So staff recommends approval for that.
Okay, all right, any questions for Chris?
All right, move to approve the agreement with Bloomington Blades for youth hockey.
Okay, and a roll call vote?
Kathleen Mills.
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey.
Aye.
Israel Herrera.
Aye.
All right, motion unanimously carried. And then in the next item, C11, Chris has the same sort of thing, but with senior hockey, right?
Correct, yeah, it's a high school hockey program, so kids that are in the area, it's open to kids that go to North, South, or Edgewood. We also even have a couple Bedford kids have played, so it's just for anybody around the area. They practice 3 days a week, sometimes 4, as it says in here. They play against everybody around the state, that kind of thing. It's another agreement that we've had for a long time. So staff recommends approval for that.
Okay, any questions? Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the partnership agreement with Bloomington Blades for high school hockey.
Okay, and a roll call vote?
Kathleen Mills.
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey.
Aye.
Israel Herrera.
Okay, motion carried. And then finally, Chris has still staying on the ice here, the figure skating club.
Yes, so Figure Skating Club, same process. They have been around for a long time. We've had an agreement with them for a long time. They are practicing 3 days a week. It's open to everybody in the community. We have youth and adults that are a part of the Bloomington Figure Skating Club, and it's a program that we have operated with for a long time, and they've always been great for us.
Okay. Any questions? Okay.
All right, I'll move to approve the partnership agreement with Bloomington Figure Skating.
Okay, and roll call vote, please?
Kathleen Mills.
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey.
Aye.
Israel Herrera.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you. Motion carried. Okay, and then Tim Street in C13 will tell us about the addendum with Bomar for the Bicentennial Gateway lettering.
Okay, I am back again with an approval of an addendum with Bomar for the Bicentennial Gateway Project. The Gateway Project is actively ongoing. I don't know if you have been out near 46 in North Walnut, but it is a rapidly changing area with the big new apartment building going up and with the gateway taking shape. You can already see the concrete backing to the wall that's going to be the shape of the new gateway, and I'm really excited for this to come to fruition. As we have been navigating the design implementation process, we realized that these letters would have to sit a little farther out from the milled limestone than originally intended, and as a result, we want to make sure we put some acrylic backing on there to ensure that we don't get vandalism, or I'm actually more worried about birds trying to nest in the letters long-term, but also just it will help seal them up, moisture, vandalism, birds, and help them stay in pristine condition for a very long time. So this is a change order for that. I do anticipate a small amount of change orders with Reed & Sons at the next park board just for we found some unsuitable soils and needed to do some foundational work to make sure everything, doesn't sink into the ground. So yeah, staff recommends approval, $11,950 in additional contract value to Bomar. This is all funded still through the Bicentennial Bond, Series C, the project fund for this project.
So I'm just trying to picture, like, otherwise without the backing, then, like, for instance, birds can go within the letters, is that?
Yes, as originally designed, we thought it was going to be close enough to the milled limestone where we wouldn't need this. But after getting into production from, I can't remember if it's 3D, I think 3D Quarry is doing this limestone, the face limestone. The variation in the limestone and the way they have to put the rods in to mount the letters means there's going to be a little bit more of a gap in there that we want to close up.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you.
I'll move to approve the addendum with Bomar Industries for the lettering.
Okay, and a roll call vote?
Kathleen Mills.
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey.
Aye.
Israel Herrera.
All right, motion carried. And then finally, in Section C, Amy Leyenbeck with the agreement with Harold Fish for HVAC replacement at Rose Hill office.
Hello, I'm Amy Leyenbeck, the operations coordinator. And this summer, it became apparent that the AC unit at the Rose Hill office is no longer keeping up with the hot temperatures we've been having. So we received 3 quotes, and we are recommending that we go with Harold Fish, Inc. For a new unit.
Any questions for Amy? Oh, okay.
All right, move to approve the agreement with Harold Fish for HVAC replacement at Rose Hill.
And a roll call vote?
Kathleen Mills.
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey.
Aye.
Israel Herrera.
All right, motion carried. Thank you, Amy.
Do we have to be out here by a certain time?
I'm not sure.
Do
But
we have to be out here by a certain time?
Okay. All right, and then our Section D reports. Kim will tell us about the Board of Park Commissioners meeting schedule and a day and time change for next year.
Hello,
good evening. Kim Clapp, Office Manager. We discussed this at the June 2024 Park Board work session between staff and board members, and we all agreed to look at changing the Park Board meetings from the fourth Tuesday of the month to the fourth Thursday of the month, and changing the time from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. The new day and time will not only help eliminate the need to rush through lengthy agendas as other board and commission meetings will not be following, it will also help reduce the number of quorum issues by providing a day and a time that aligns better with members' schedules, and hopefully provide a more convenient time for the public to attend. And a little bit of history on the Park Board. The first Park Board meeting was held on Wednesday, December the 7th, 1921 at 6:30 p.m. in Mayor Weaver's office. Permanent officers elected were Mr. H.B. Gentry, President, Mr. John Cravens, Vice President, and Mrs. Mary H. Beck, Secretary. A discussion of sites for future city parks took place. Suggestions included the tract of land in the vicinity of Rocky Branch out North Walnut Street, the Headley Place north of town, and the site of the old Spoke Factory between 3rd Street and Smith Avenue. The Park Board started with approximately $6,500 in funds, and an additional $3,400 was expected the next year from a 3-cent levy. A draft of the 2025 Park Board Commissioners meeting schedule is included in your board packet. Be happy to answer any questions for you.
Thank you. I really liked the history. The, $6,500, that's not going to get you a new swimming pool. No.
And should we meet at the mayor's office?
Meet at the mayor's office, yeah, we can just stop by, so. Yeah, and Kim mentioned, but I think it's nice to highlight too, that just starting at 5 is easier for some folks who might want to come and comment or interact with the meeting. I mean, it's hard for some people to do that at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so. Thank you. Okay, and then Chris Hamrick will come back to tell us about the Stay Cool Pool Days, how many of those we had and what those cost.
Yes, so we instituted a new program this year that I want to thank the Sustainability Department. They found the funding. I want to especially thank Julie Ramey. She did a lot of work on it to make it actually happen, and it ended up being a great program for us this year. So the 2024 pool season ended with Labor Day weekend. And as I said, we want to make sure that we acknowledge the new partnership with the ESD department. They sponsored all of our Stay Cool Bloomington days. They were able to find funding throughout the year for us. We ended up able to sponsor $73,000 in admissions to Bryan Park Pool and $26,000 in admissions to Mills Pool. So, yeah, next slide here. So basically, we decided that ESD kind of wanted to push anything that was above level 2 heat risk, which is moderate heat risk. The idea behind the program, I'm sure you guys have heard about this. I think Julie gave a presentation on this before. But the idea behind the program was for people that maybe don't have access to AC and that kind of thing. We want to make sure that we have our pools are open for accessibility on that front. So ESD decided anything over a level 2 heat risk, they wanted to fund free pool days. So we had several of them this year. Next slide. Next slide again. So this year we had 12,000 visitors to Bryan Park Pool on our Stay Cool Bloomington days. We had 4,000 visitors on our to Mills Pool on our Stay Cool Bloomington days. There were about 18 days total. We had a few with the storm. Storm kind of knocked out our power a couple of the days. So there were about 18 between the two pools. And yep, there's the numbers for you. About $99,000 total was funded by the Sustainability Department. That's kind of our program, what Julie and her staff put together for us, so we could get the information out to the public. And then I think there's Yep, and then just like I said, we want to make sure we thank sustainability, and I want to make sure I thank Julie for the amount of work that she did. It was not easy for her to do all of that to get everything in place, and I also want to make sure I thank my staff, my lifeguards and my pool managers, and they did a great job to make sure everything stayed safe despite the massive amounts of people in the pool, and it went really well, and it's something that we're hopefully soon talking about continuing into the future, so. Thank you.
Chris, I'm just curious on that with the levels of heat. Who decided the free days would be level 2 or above?
The sustainability department really pushed for level 2 or above. They said that, I'm not sure exactly what their reasoning was for that specific number. That's the moderate heat risk. Like it says, the level of heat affects most individuals sensitive to heat. So the level 2, it came from this heat risk website, and they decided that that was going to be something that enough people were going to be at risk that they wanted to make that the level.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
I guess, do you know, like, all the days that we used, were they level 2, or were any of them level 3 or above?
Yeah. I think we only had one day that was level 4, and I can't remember if that was just in the surrounding area or actually over us, but we had several level 3 days. So when we first implemented the program, the first week and a half, every single day was a level 3 day. So one of the things that this heat risk, it takes into account, instead of just heat index, it also takes into account, so if it's been hot several days in a row, the heat risk goes up. If it doesn't get cool at night and it stays hot at night as well, then the heat risk also goes up. So there were days where it was only 85 degrees, but it had been 85 degrees every single day and not gotten cool at night. So that's what drove the heat risk up.
It starts to get impossible to cool down. Is there, I mean, it seems like when Julie presented this to us before, it was like, I think it started at, we have $50,000 that we're gonna, so clearly we doubled that, $100,000. And then I think the program ended we had concerns that it was gonna end too early, and we had advertised it, and then, of course, the pools would still be open through August, but of course, I think that maybe we were lucked out that there weren't a ton of days, especially because the pools go to weekend only by the 1st of August.
So that's definitely a piece. It's 100% on me that we didn't have the correct number. We just kind of looked at what our numbers were last year.
I don't think we're blaming anyone.
It came out of the amount of people that we had come out to it, I think shocked everybody. I don't think we were expecting to have that many people take advantage of it, and it went great, and like I said, ESD was able to find more money to make sure they funded the program all the way through the summer, and
yeah, that's great. I guess I just want to think about next year, like what their plan is there, and making sure they have the funds set aside for that. Hopefully there's more and more grant funding available for these climate related illnesses and repercussions to the community.
I think we have a meeting with them in the next couple weeks to discuss that, so yeah.
Yeah, that's really great. Well, I think it's a really great program, and kudos for acting fast and getting the word out. I'm glad people could take advantage of it.
Yeah. All right, thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
And then finally, in our Section D reports, Tim will tell us about the staff report on switchyard parcel work.
Yes, and I hope to keep this brief. It looks like we might have some public comment tonight, and I appreciate people sitting through our agenda for that. Briefly, I just wanted to let the board know that you can expect to see some approvals coming up. We are working on a project to record some final environmental restrictive covenants at Switchyard Park on the deeds that were part of the whole construction. It's just now, even the wetlands, we had to monitor for 3 years post-completion before we recorded it on the deed. What we discovered is recording things on the deed for Switchyard Park is quite complicated because Switchyard is currently made up of 8 separate parcels that have been developed through railroad ownership and all the things over the years. And so we are currently working on a project. The board actually approved some dollars for Bledsoe Riggert a couple months ago, and we've been working through the legal department to get all the descriptions lined up in order. Where the board will come in on this is that as we consolidate these parcels, there are a few parcels that are not in the name of City of Bloomington Board of Park Commissioners. They are maybe underneath the RDC still, or just under City of Bloomington. And so what we will need to do is we will bring those deeds to the park board for acceptance. And my hope is that in sort of presenting this now, we don't have to re-present every time. It can just be sort of matter of fact. This is one of the deed acceptances that we've already talked about and answered questions on. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that explanation. And that concludes our main agenda. We can go into Section E, public comment. If we have anyone here in person who would like to comment, you can come up to the podium and there should be a sign-in. You can also see if we have anyone. We have 2 people online? No. Oh, yes, 2 minutes to comment. Yes.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Taylor Brown. I am the new Legislative Affairs Specialist working in the Mayor's office. Despite her best efforts, Mayor Thompson is unable to clone herself to be in multiple places at once, and so while she is working on the technology, she has sent me. Hopefully, I'm here to help kind of facilitate discussions so Director Street can keep doing an amazing job and not worry about playing telephone between the mayor's office and the board. And does the mayor's office know about this? We have had many conversations regarding security. In addition, budgets. Commissioner Herrera, you brought up concerns about needles. The Indiana Recovery Alliance has just recently agreed to take over needle collection, which is a state agency. So that will take some pressure off of some of our departments. QR code should be announced soon. We're working with them, but I can provide contact details after the meeting. So I'm looking forward to working with the commission.
Yeah, thank you for those updates. That's good to know. Thank you, Taylor. All right. Any other in-person public comment?
Hello, my name is John Arbuckle. I'm here tonight representing the Bloomington Bike Polo Club. I know my clubmate Peeler was here back in April for the board meeting to talk about the Building Trades Park Master Plan. I'm just here tonight to kind of say hello, introduce the club. Our sister club in Lafayette likes to say that we're the fastest growing bike polo club in Indiana. We've been playing for about a year now, a little over a year at the Building Trades Park. We meet twice a week on Thursdays from about 6 p.m. till dark, just to have kind of a practice. And then we play pickup on Sundays there from about 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And we're excited to be growing so fast. We've had a lot of new players come out in just the last few months alone. We're trying to be a bigger, diverse, inclusive club, and we're excited to keep working with parks as we grow. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I was going to say, if practice starts at 6, yeah. Are there special bike polo mallets? Yes. Oh, wow, okay. Did not know that. All right, any other public comment, either online or in person?
If anyone online would like to make a comment, please raise your hand.
Okay. All right. And I just looked it up on my calendar today, but Tim, oh, we do have a comment. Okay.
Mike, if you would unmute yourself, you should have that capability, and you have 2 minutes to make your comment.
Very good. Can you hear me at this time?
Yes, we can.
Very good. Hello, my name is Seaforth Breeze. I'm borrowing my partner's Zoom, and I'm here as one of the new members of the Bike Polo Club. I just wanted to help John represent the club and indicate that we're, growing and excited and hopeful to try to, continue having the space to you know, practice and play and such like that, and to find ways to basically work with the Parks Department, and you know, yeah. So thank you all very much for your time today, and also Kathleen, did you used to be a teacher at Bloomington South?
I still am a teacher. Were you my student?
I was indeed. Back in 2012 or 2013, I took a class for, no, English. It was English. But yeah, just wanted to do a quick call out for that as a funny. I was not expecting to see you helping to run the board.
Well, I hope you got a good grade.
I don't even remember, but I think it was my first class at South because I transferred in.
Oh, wow.
And so it was a good experience.
Oh, well, good. Okay. Well, nice to meet you again. Yeah.
Indeed. Y'all have a good one.
All right. Thank you. So just a reminder, I believe our October meeting is October the 15th. Yes, which is not the second Tuesday, but the third Tuesday, just to make it work with all of our members. So any other announcements, Tim, or?
Sure, just a couple quick things to close us out. I mentioned projects. If you're going by RCA Park, you can see our new picnic shelter taking shape. That will be done within the next month. Very excited about that. Gateway projects ongoing. The Power Line Trail, where we had a very successful public meeting last week, and we'll be looking to enact that project moving forward. We also have a staff group working with board member Jim Whitlatch on some of our behavior policy review items that were brought up in a board meeting a couple months ago. This weekend, there's some things going on. There's happy hour at Switchyard tomorrow. Blackie Brown Festival is also this weekend. Of course, Pride Fest is going on downtown. Blackie Brown is going on at Switchyard Park. Spray Pad remains open through the end of the month on weekends, so Spray Pad will be going. It's still pretty warm out there and pretty dry. Coming up after that, of course, the Heroes 5K that Shelby mentioned on the 21st. Adult Field Day, rescheduled from the summer, is happening on the 27th, which is also the scheduled opening day for the Frank Southern Center. And those are just a few things coming up in the next couple weeks. And of course, our next regular meeting is in October. We do have a special meeting immediately following the conclusion here to review one fee schedule item for the Frank Southern Center.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Tim. So with that, I'll adjourn this September regular meeting of the Bloomington Board of Park Commissioners.